So the QuickBooks Connector, this is a really good attempt by FileMaker, by Claris, at handling the complexity of doing these QuickBooks integrations. So, and as Claris Connect matures, I really expect this to be one of our most used connectors. I think this is a really good round one. And recall that Claris Connect was a technology acquired by Apple in March of 2019. So this is a very young technology still, you know. I mean, its first foray was being put out into our hands so that we could start complaining. I mean, help refine the product, not complain, right? So for a product this young, this is a really, really useful plugin, and I'll show you just how useful this thing can be. So let's, I just want to show you all the options that you have available to you first. So let's just create a new flow here, and I'm going to call it QuickBooks Quick Look. Now, just as a review, since this is still a new product and we're still new at this, every flow needs a trigger action to make the flow happen. So I'm going to select QuickBooks as my triggering source. And this is a list of all of the actions that can trigger a flow out of QuickBooks. So right off the bat, maybe you notice that there are no editing triggers, right? These are all record creation triggers. So that's something to immediately absorb that, oh, you know, I'm not going to be able to grab data or trigger a flow every time something's edited in QuickBooks. So this is record creation only on the trigger side. Now that doesn't mean we're not able to check on edits proactively, right? You can use FileMaker to query a QuickBooks record, grab the data, compare it, script that comparison, all that stuff that you've done before if you've integrated with QuickBooks. So you could still do that, but you're not going to have an edit as a trigger action. So just file that away. But this is a nice list of being able to trigger things and make stuff happen. So step 2 is connecting your QuickBooks account. So I found out the hard way that there is no provision for using the QuickBooks sandbox with Claris Connect. And I was a little disappointed in that. I imagine that will come out. Again, this is a young product, so it'll constantly be refined. So you must have a real QuickBooks account to use Claris Connect, QuickBooks Connector. Now that said, as you can imagine, Drone Bike LLC is not a real company. I'm using a 30-day free trial of QuickBooks. So I have a full access to QuickBooks. And this is my fake company that sells flying bicycles. That's what we sell. So bring your checkbook. Okay, so Drone Bike LLC. So if you want to use or attempt to use this plugin, this connector for more than 30 days, you know, have more than one email address and get yourself another 30-day trial. So there are ways around it, right? We all know how to do that kind of stuff. All right, so I've saved the trigger. One other thing about logging into QuickBooks account, if you already have it open like I do here, when you go to connect and make that connection, you'll get this nice, pleasant QuickBooks connection screen. It'll sense that it's open. It'll just give you this connect button, and as soon as you click it, you're making flows. So it's really, really handy. So just have it open when you're going to make your first connection there. All right. So I'm going to just now that we have our trigger action here, this trigger, I'm going to select an action. And just because I want to show you the list of things that we can do, this is a pretty cool list. This is 28 items, 28 actions for QuickBooks, and that's quite a lot. And I suspect that the majority of the requests that developers get for QuickBooks can be handled by this list. I'll scroll down a little bit here because we can't see all of it. But notice it's querying, it's finding something by ID, it's getting the data, it's updating, it's creating for a lot of things. So just thinking through the business cycle, we have really not that many things for most FileMaker or FileMaker QuickBooks integration requests, right? We've got customers, vendors, estimates, purchase orders, invoices, and billing. Those are all possible actions here. And so there's a good chance that you'll be able to make a decently robust system to keep FileMaker and QuickBooks either somewhat in sync or totally in sync, depending on how simple the business is, right? So I want to go back and show you this flow that I built just for customer creation. We'll go back to flows. I'll delete this one. And we'll jump into creation. So here's my little FileMaker file over here. I just grabbed the FM18 invoices database to integrate with. And I don't have any customer records in it right now. So I have a trigger of customer created, and then I have a FileMaker server action of creating the record, right? And what that looks like is it has me select what layout I want to interface with, and then what data I want to grab and insert into fields. So what this does, whenever you select a layout, it reads that layout and it puts all the fields here in a list. And to look through, let's say we wanted to add website, right? You can use the search field. So this is the JSON object that's coming back from step 1 up here. So when a customer is created, it gives us this JSON object, and we can search through, say, web. I don't know if it's going to call it site or whatever. Yeah, there's nothing there. Maybe URL. Nope. Nope, I don't know. So you would go through and select a field. Let's just say that was our field that we wanted. Just click on the icon and it plugs it in for you. So that's really, really handy for field mapping, which you will not get away from, right? If you've never done an integration like this before, there's just no substitute for doing the work of doing the field mapping. You're going to have to do the work. But this is a pretty decently clean. I must admit, I was a little confused by this when I first clicked on it. But after I got used to what the interface was, I realized that, wow, this is a pretty nice way to handle this complexity of going through the JSON object and finding the fields that you need. So again, young product, but really good first attempt at this. And I expect this process to get better, just like our import dialog got better over the years, right? So once you've done all your field mapping and you saved that, then basically this flow is ready to go. So we're gonna give it a little attempt here. And let's create a new customer. And I'm gonna say Joe. And last name Ran. You skip the meeting, you get included, Joe. All right, let's go to Reno, Nevada, and then save. All right. Now, I have noticed that it takes sometimes up to a minute or so to for that to hit. In other flows and other functions that we've used, it hasn't taken that long. So I'm not sure if it's just this particular connector or what it is, but we'll see it pop up here in a minute. So while we're waiting on that, let me ask you some questions. Are you tired of traffic jams? Do you like to ride bikes? If so, I would like to interest you in the drone bike. Right? It's a real deal, guys. I love this thing. Anyway, that delay wasn't long enough for us to show results. I promise you it will come up here in a minute. And again, I don't know why that delay is there. That's something to A, be aware of if you're wanting to start experimenting with this, and B, just have a plan.
Hey, it showed up.
Hey, there we go. So there it is.
That delay's on the QuickBooks side, though.
Yeah,
so
it's got to be.
You can't control it. It's just their call out.
Yep. So that's a client briefing thing to say, hey, it's not going to be instant, but it will connect. So now, if you're wondering, and I know that's a very, very tiny demo, but you get the idea that it's a very straightforward process to make things happen. And remember, we have if then and repeat and on error. You're going to be, when connecting with QuickBooks, you are going to be using all of these things. There's a good DB services video out there on how they connected to QuickBooks. And all of the things that you would expect you would have to do with your business logic, you have to do with Claris Connect. And that means checking for a record to see if it already exists. What do I do with portal data? What do I do with child records that come through? I didn't want to do that. Save. I wanted to do this. And look at the JSON object again. So if we get down in here, you know, once we have the line items, oh, that's not here. That's in invoices. So, you know, invoices have their line items in an array. And so now you need to build a repeat action, so you can create a record for the first line of your line items, and then you have to do a repeat action as long as there are line items. Continue to repeat that action and create the line items there. So there's no way around that. You're going to be building the logic, but the good news is once you've learned this little interface for Claris Connect, it goes pretty darn quickly especially compared to hand coding this stuff, for those of you who have done that in your past lives. So there's no escape from the complexity of this problem we're trying to solve, but this is a pretty elegant way of trying to solve it. And there's just going to be lots of business logic to write. So once you get used to it, you know, this is a very powerful tool in your toolbox. This allows us to go back to clients who have asked us for this before, and we've said no to in the past. No, we can't do QuickBooks integration, or it's going to cost way too much. Maybe not anymore. Maybe it's time to go back to them and say, hey, let's make the attempt. And if this is your first go around with Claris Connect and you haven't done a flow yet, I would highly suggest trying QuickBooks. I know that QuickBooks quirks and their field labels and all of that and their structure can sometimes be a pain. And Claris Connect itself still has a couple of rough edges. But if you get past that and you learn this, you not only have something to sell to your clients, but you can handle any other flow that you try and do. This is a really good one to get into.